Hi there, AJ again from the digidojo.com. In this video, I will explain to you the difference between Ido Kihon, the moving basics, and Renrakuwaza. And some people call that Renrakuwaza. That's not so important, both mean the same thing, combination techniques. And of course, when you look at the techniques, you can already understand what would be the difference. But in this video, I want to get more into what kind of effect this should have on your training, because they have a different purpose and as well they have a different emphasis. So I'm going to dig deeper into this subject and explain this to you throughout this video. Right, so first of all, Ido Kihon basics is to isolate a movement. Basically, basics historically come from kata. So kata is of course a combination of techniques within a pattern. So if you want to study that movement, or if you want to improve only that movement from the kata, then you take it out of the kata and then you get the basics. Of course, this developed over time, and Wadokai Sensei, let's say, left us the 10 basics as we know them in Ido Kihon within the Wadokai. So these 10 techniques are based or are created to isolate, to really get that focus on one single execution. Now, mindset wise, you could say this has to do with Ichigeki Satsu, which means that your strike should be so powerful that you only need one blow to knock out your opponent. And physically, it means that you focus on strictly those body dynamics or body mechanics, which basically comes down to the same thing. Although you can say that a dynamic is a combination of certain mechanics. So I'll get deeper into those dynamics in a second or minute probably, as I will explain you what is the basic purpose of Renrakuwaza. In fact, I showed a whole video about that and how I, came to that conclusion, or basically one of the two things Ishikawa Sensei taught me, because at the time I was not aware of that. Renrakuwaza, in Ishikawa Sensei's words, the purpose is to go and continue until Ippon. And by that he meant, if the first strike is not effective, you launch the second one and you kick and you do this and you do that and you keep going until you solve the problem. Or in his words, until you knock down the opponent. So that's the purpose of Renrakuwaza. Mindset-wise and body-wise, you have to learn how to connect one technique to the other. Because this is, principally it's present in Ido Kihon, but on the surface, it's very difficult to see this. And having said that, we need the muscle memory, so we need the practice of Renrakuwaza. So in basics, you are going to analyze, or better say practice, the body mechanics that will give you an efficient result. And I specifically say result because I know many people are considered about the form. In basics, you have to work on your form, or in kata you have to work on your form, and that's completely not the case. Now, I'm not saying that you cannot use it to work on your form, but that's not why we practice it, from a fundamental perspective. Because you practice basics in order to control your body better, and a decent form is actually the result of you using these body mechanics and dynamics better. Because, for example, in Junzuki, basically your shoulders are square and you're going to thrust with your shoulder blade. That's different from rotating a lot with your upper body and then extending your arm. So you can see that you can say, okay, my form must be like, this should be relatively square, although it's a little bit turned, but that's for another video, or in the dojo, I should say. But this is what you have to bear in mind. So when it comes to basics, you want to make sure that you are going to, let's say, follow these rules and improve your form. But actually, like I said, the form is the result of how you use the mechanics. Because if you over-rotate for Junzuki, It simply means your hikite was done too far, or it was not in harmony with your striking arm, or you had too much upper body rotation. And these are all, let's say, flaws or energy leaks, you can also say, which they use in a different area of using the body. So okay, that's basics, right? So when you practice basics, and I'll explain this for combination techniques as well, for basics you have to focus on those specific body dynamics. And when you go one step further, for today's training, which mechanic are you working on? Are you going to pay attention to the movement of your shoulder? Are you going to pay attention to the movement of your knees, to the movement of your front foot, and so on? And that's exceptionally good if you're going to practice basics. And just take one thing at a time. Take one thing and do that for 1 week, depending on how many times you practice, or maybe do it for 1 month, depending on how many times you practice or how much practice you need to get that one to the next level. In other words, controlling it better. So then there's also Renrakuwaza. And the main difference is with basics that you're going to connect one technique to the other. So you can already see that the emphasis is on the transition between one movement and the next. And this is what is often misunderstood when people practice, because either people will try to sort of perfect their technique too much, resulting in choppy movement, so there will not be a good flow in their combinations, because just like basics, they sort of start and stop, start and stop, start and stop. And this is not what you should do for combinations. For combinations, you need a smooth transition of movement. So the other main mistakes that are made when they do Renrakuwaza is that they're going to sacrifice the techniques for the combination. And that's also not good. So if you're going to do, let's say, a 1-2 combination, then this should have 100 power, 100 power. So both should have 100 power. Of course, when you are fighting, you can do maybe like 30-70, or in that sense 30-100, but then deliberately you're going to use the first one to set up the second one. And that's, let's say, more like strategy-wise. But in Renrakuwaza, these kind of strategy things, they are not present when you practice Renrakuwaza. Of course, you can add them for your training, but when it comes to, let's say, regular Renrakuwaza, we are not looking at these kind of strategies. We are simply going to see which body dynamics are involved in the first technique and which are involved in the second technique, and how can we make those smooth in transition, so going from one to the other. So the points to take care of are that you do every technique with 100, 100, 100, but at the same time not making your techniques choppy. And what it comes down to is simply relaxation. All right? And now my students are looking at me like he's crazy. What is he talking to himself in the car? But anyway, I have to wrap up the video. You see, they are going back to school as well. So where was I? I got slightly distracted now. Okay, so the difficulty is to do the techniques with full effort while at the same time keeping the flow. So that's the difficulty, but of course, we have to look at it from a positive angle. That is the challenge when it comes to Renrakuwaza, when it comes to connecting one technique to the other. What I can say, practice-wise, is that it's better to focus on the flow and full extension of your technique, and then gradually start to add power to the end point, let's say, of your strike, and then build up as you keep that flow. I think that's the most efficient way, to approach this in your training. And you can also look at the transition. So if you go from Gyakuzuki to Surikomi-ashi, when your foot does like that, then the end of Gyakuzuki, basically your hikite will be the surikomi-yashi. So these are two things. First, you can analyze how is the first technique connected to the second to the third, etc. And then start doing it very relaxed without any power, making sure to extend your techniques, and then gradually, while keeping that flow, add more power to your techniques. So thanks again for watching. I hope this was interesting for you, and most of all that you can use this in your training and that it will help you to get better at karate. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for the next one. And remember, implementation is everything. How are you going to take action? So drop a comment down below and let me know your key insight and biggest takeaway from this video. Don't forget to click the subscribe button, turn on the notification and hit the bell so that every single time I upload a new video, you'll get notified. And next to my YouTube videos, I invite you to check out the digidojo.com, which is the largest knowledge base on karate and Kobudo on the planet, with thousands of high quality instructional videos that'll take your skill to the next level. And if you get started at the digidojo.com for free right now, you'll enjoy these 3 welcome gifts that I prepared for you. So number 1 is the best footage of the Wadokai Summercamp 2013 with Sakagami Sensei. The next one is the Takashima Seminar from 1998. Plus you'll get access to the Meotode Crash Course, where you discover how to develop this traditional skill from the ground up. After you hit subscribe and give the video a thumbs up, click the link down below in the description box to check it out. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for the next one.